welcome to the channel. Recently, I posted an article on the Tabletop Thoughts website that was shared across a few Facebook groups that sparked some great discussions. One comment that stood out to me in particular, someone mentioned that quantum ogres and Schrödinger scenarios are essentially the same thing with different names. That's a common misconception, so I wanted to take a moment to clear that up today in the video. First, let's start with a definition of quantum ogre. A quantum ogre is a concept that describes a situation where players believe they have multiple choices or paths to take, but regardless of their decisions, they encounter the same obstacle, challenge, or event. Imagine this. Your party is traveling along and they come to a fork in the road. They can either head into a dense, creepy swamp or take the seemingly safer route through the forest. Two distinct choices, right? Let's just say the party decides to head into the swamp. The thick fog clings to your skin as you push through the marsh, your boots sinking into the mud with every step. The air is humid, filled with the distinct croaking of frogs and the faint buzz of unseen insects. Hours pass, and just when you think you have made it through, an enormous ogre emerges from the murky water and stands before you. Its massive frame is caked with filth, and its beady eyes lock onto the party with a hungry glare. It hefts a rusty club over its shoulder, ready to attack. Now, here's the kicker. What if the party had chosen the forest instead? They leave the swamp behind and start navigating the dense trees, thinking they're avoiding the swamp's dangers. But just when they least expect it, they encounter the same ogre. Different path, same outcome. This is what we call a quantum ogre. The players thought they had a meaningful choice between the swamp or the forest, but no matter what they picked, they were destined to face that ogre. In reality, the choice was just an illusion. Now, some DMs might use a quantum ogre method to streamline their prep or to maintain the pacing of the game. But that's a big downside. Once players realize their choices don't actually matter, it can lead to frustration and a feeling of loss of agency. The illusion of choice is a powerful tool, but when it feels like an illusion, that's where the quantum ogre falls flat. Have I used quantum ogres? Sure I have. Are they bad? Not necessarily. Like any tool, it depends on how and when you use it. Quantum ogres can actually be effective when they are used sparingly and under the right circumstances. For example, they can help foreshadow a looming threat, something that's hunting the party no matter where they go. Maybe the players keep running into clues, or the creature itself, building tension throughout the session. The key is not to overuse it. If the players start realizing their choices don't matter in the long run, it can break immersion and make them feel like passengers instead of active participants in the story. So yeah, quantum ogres have their place. They're not inherently bad, but they need to be handled carefully. The more important thing is to strike a balance between making sure the player's choices have weight while still guiding the story in a meaningful direction. Now, let's talk about Schrödinger scenarios. In contrast to the quantum ogre, a Schrödinger scenario is a storytelling technique in tabletop role-playing games where the results of encounters are not defined until the players make a decision. This approach allows DMs to maintain flexibility in the narrative while still being prepared with pre-generated encounters. Let's take that same scenario. The party has reached a fork. This time, though, the DM has prepped an encounter in the swamp. Let's say the ogre is still lurking there, waiting for them. But what happens when the party chooses the forest? Instead of placing the ogre there no matter what, the DM pulls something from their toolkit. A pack of hungry wolves, for example, or another encounter that fits the forest environment. The difference here is that the wolves, or whatever else, doesn't exist until the party makes that choice. This is the essence of Schrödinger scenarios. The forest encounter wasn't predetermined. It materialized once the players made the decision to enter the forest. The DM didn't lock into the encounter ahead of time, but instead adapted based on the player's choices. This is why it's great for DMs to have a folder, or even just a list, full of different encounters that can be dropped into an adventure to fill in gaps or add variety to the story. You don't always need to plan every detail ahead of time, but having a pool of encounters ready allows you to improvise while keeping things cohesive. The flexibility of Schrödinger scenarios allows you to react to the player's decisions. When it comes to running Schrödinger scenarios, one of the best tools for a DM is having a solid collection of pre-generated encounters. But where do you get ideas for these encounters? Well, the answer is simple. Anywhere. Great encounters can come from other adventures and modules where you can adapt encounters to fit your game world. You don't have to run the whole adventure, just take pieces that suit your story. Books are another excellent source. Whether it's a suspenseful scene in a mystery novel or a dramatic moment in a fantastic fiction, these can inspire encounters with unique twists. And, of course, movies and television shows. How many times have you watched a suspenseful scene and thought, this would make an amazing encounter in my game? You can tweak the pacing, change the setting, and voila, you have a ready-made encounter. The key is to build a library of flexible encounters that fit different moods and situations. So the next time you're folder and pull out a perfect encounter, no matter where they go. Whether it's from an adventure module, a book, or a movie, the ideas are out there. You just need to gather them and be ready to drop them into your Schrödinger scenario when the time comes. So while quantum ogres give the illusion of choice, Schrödinger scenarios adapt to the player's decisions in real time, creating more dynamic and flexible storytelling. Both have their place on the table, but it's all about knowing when to use each to enhance your game. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep on gaming.